hop on, we talk a little bit about what it takes to get ourselves in line to become better entrepreneurs. Hopefully, whether you're East Coast and it's middle of the day and you're kind of resetting yourself, if you're all the way on the other side of the pond somewhere over in the UK, Italy, or all the way down into South Africa or New Zealand, or maybe you're on the West Coast of the US and it's first thing in the morning, you're waking up, whatever part of your day it may be, hopefully you get a little bit of motivation, a little bit of clarity, a little bit of something to kind of pick yourself up and focus a little bit better. That's the purpose of these calls. That's why we do them. And I always appreciate you guys joining me here each and every day. So we're going to dive in. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about, and do want you guys, by all means, guys, comments in the chat box. If you've got thoughts that you want to share, raise your hand or pop on and just kind of, look for a good time to speak. There's always more that you gain out of this, the more that you participate, as opposed to just kind of sitting in the dark, putting me on in the background and, listening occasionally. So hopefully you guys are striving to get as much out of this as you can. That said, yesterday we talked a little bit about the macro versus the micro, looking at 30,000 foot view versus detail, right? Big picture, little picture, detail oriented. Any thoughts of that? Today we're diving into how you can kind of think a little bit more big picture. So David, appreciate you, man. Anybody have any thoughts or questions on what we covered yesterday or what we covered over the last week or so when it comes to power teams, any of that other stuff? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Anybody? No? Nothing. Awesome.
Oh, well, the homework was pretty useful and actually allowed me to think a little bit about my own behavioral patterns, which is just like, thank you for that, Andrew. And it wasn't too much to do, but I'm just like, damn, I know what I'm doing. So that was great.
So what aspects of the homework, like what part in particular kind of stood out to you?
So the question was, okay, how do I think? What are my behaviors? Are there more little things focused or big pictures focused? And finally, for the first time in my life, I wrote, and I'm like not fresh to personal development, right? But I wrote down, okay, I see the problem here. Okay, so it's an opportunity to create different behavioral habits, which is just great because, again, it's not about like magic revolution, but at the end of the day, it always boils down to habits. Let's be honest, that's why so many magic programs fail, because the revolution doesn't exist. It's habits, habits, habits. So I'm really grateful for that, because I was just like, damn, I see what I focus on, and definitely more into details. And this is brilliant to think about that,
Good. Guys, there's nothing wrong with the details, but if you get too caught up in them, then it is going to slow down your growth. And there's no other way to look at it, right? Science backs it up. You've got to be able to look at more than just that. Maria, were you raising your hand? Did you have something? Or were you just kind of waving? You're on mute.
No, it's just that my father is telling me that the lunch is ready. So I'm telling him like it's 2:80.
Tell him big picture here. Hey, think about it. I gotta take care of my brain before I take care of my belly. So excellent. Then again, arroz y frijoles and carne and yeah, absolutely. What is for lunch?
We are going to have posta sudada. It's like a really slow cooked meat with potato, yuca, I don't know, and rice.
So all of us are going to have to go eat after this, whether you're lunchtime or somewhere else. So, Joe, if you're stuck on niche, like I've done some trainings on niche, you can go back and watch the recording. This particular portion of the call isn't really about that. Occasionally I do that. Tomorrow, actually, after the high performance call, I am going to do some open Q&A where we'll talk a little bit about market. We could talk about niche and everything else. Shoot me an email. Let me know what your niche is, and we can chat a little bit about that, whether or not it's a good one. If you've got the list for the high performance calls, guys, the Google Doc, and it's the email. I'm about to send out an email that's got, again, the link for the high performance docs and the slides for the circle of influence, the power teams and all that we went over this last week, that email is going out as soon as we're done on the call. It's just sitting there right now waiting. So that'll get sent out as soon as we're done. If you look at December 10th, Joe, there's a training I did there on niches to make sure that your thinking on niches is aligned. Okay, diving in now. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the macro versus micro. Yesterday, we talked about what that means. We talked about perspective and perception, right? We talked about, how you're looking at things, the difference in perception and perspective, right? Your point of view versus how you interpret things. Our perceptions are created from our belief. Our belief comes from how we grew up, how we spent the last few decades, the jobs that we've had, our interactions with other people, whether they're mentors or coaches or, clergy with religion or our families or whatever, or it's your manager at work or it's your employees at work, right? A lot of times those perceptions and then how we view our reality is all skewed by those things, right? They become ingrained in who we are, and that's how we then interact with the world. If you're looking to change things, if you're looking to create a different lifestyle now and lifestyle into the future, then those perceptions have to change at a fundamental level. Because if you don't change the fundamentals, if you don't change the foundation, you're never going to be able to build something bigger. Think about a business, and another example would be transportation. So if we're looking at, or not a business, a home, a building, you've got your foundation that's built. If I want to build something different, and this happens a lot. So some of you guys live in areas where there are, you'll get a neighborhood, a certain zip code, a certain area of land that all of a sudden, for whatever reasons, becomes more desirable, right? I'm in Central Florida, right? I'm in the Orlando area. All of you guys may kind of be able to, was my screen not showing up there? Could you guys not see it? Could anybody see it?
Not when you're talking, no.
No.
So.
Okay, now it is.
Yeah.
Oh, you know why? Yeah.
Screen showing up, but you are not showing up.
Okay. Is it now? That's why. It's because I had called in first on my phone instead of here. All right. Can you see it now? I appreciate that. Who was it that switched that for me? Is it Annie or V that's on? I appreciate it. Anyway. All right. So we've got it now. So like I'm in Orlando, we've got an area of depending on what's going on, different neighborhoods all of a sudden become worth more money, right? And so a lot of times they'll go in, they'll tear down those old houses and they'll build new ones. Well, in order to build a new one, you can't keep that same foundation. Now, sometimes a portion of the foundation you're able to keep, but not the entire thing, right? I mean, is everybody kind of following along? And I know I'm kind of talking in circles at times, but if they're building a newer house, a bigger house, they want to add to it, that foundation has to change. You guys need to be able to do that with your personal beliefs. You can't just go through life looking at things like this and saying, what's right in front of you, and you can't see, the elephant, instead of the leg in front of you, right? The forest through the trees, like we talked about. So getting into the big to small thinking framework, how do we kind of start to narrow down? So this, if you can't see real well, it says identification, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the left-hand side. It says identification, calibration, consolidation, execution, right? Identification, calibration, consolidation, execution. So this is looking at overall strategies and starting to calm down. Remove things that you don't value, remove the fear, remove the non-essentials, remove the friction. Step by step on down. Somebody's like flushing their toilet. They probably didn't realize that they were on, not on mute. So it's all right. I've heard and seen worse on Zoom calls. It's always an interesting time. Okay. Did somebody just call him out there? Don't do that. All right. Now here we go. How do I send you an email with my question about the dental niche? My niche, or there you go. Thanks. Andrew at BlakeNewbar.com if you guys have questions. So how do we become a big picture thinker? Now, why do we need to do this? For some of you guys that missed this yesterday, here's a quick statistic. When you're looking to build a business, entrepreneurs that have big picture thinking are typically 30 to 48% more likely to succeed. They're also more motivated. So if you want to raise your chances for success, when you're going through life, you're looking at different things, look at all of this, right? Look at big picture. Now, how do we do that? Number one, stop seeking perfection. Research correlates attention to detail in early stage ventures with failure. There's a correlation with too much detail leading to failure. Why? It's the analysis, paralysis by analysis, right? You get too caught up you bog down there, right? If you're constantly fiddling with, if you're always about, and people do this, like, oh, this word's not correct. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. That's why Blake always talks about launch imperfectly, right? You need to press pause, stand back, and go, okay, so what am I not looking at? Or why am I looking at it like this? What can I do? The next part of that, identifying habits that limit your big picture. So goes to what Aga was just talking about. Guys, it is the habits. You do have to change habits. You've got to quit sweating the small stuff, okay? It's just like, people spending hours and hours and hours on the domain, or the, what they're going to use for their autoresponder or their logo. Well, I've been through 10 different things and I just can't quite get it right. Well, then knock it off and just go. Just do it. Guys, quit doing that. I know it's easy to say it and it takes a little work to do it, but you can absolutely achieve that. You just got to pay attention. Start to become a little more self-aware, ladies and gentlemen, and you can do some amazing things. Now, next part of that, if you're trying to do every single thing yourself, you're going to struggle. Big picture wise, there's only so much you can build. I gave the example yesterday of a small business owner that I was a partner with that refused to see big picture stuff, right? A lot of you guys have seen that. How many times have you walked into, or worked with a painter or a handyman who was never able to build the business? They've been doing it for 35 years and could have run a business, but they refused to do it because no one could ever do it quite like them, right? I have a good friend who's been a contractor for, almost 40 years now. Does phenomenally detailed work, amazing work. He can't freaking move anymore. His back, his spine is a mess. His nerves are like, he can't get through his day without some serious pain meds or alcohol. Multiple times over the last decade and a half, he's had opportunities to build a business, to have employees under him. But oftentimes they run those employees off because they refuse to believe that anyone can do it as well as they can. Some of you guys now, as you're launching your business, there is this idea that you have to learn every single thing. There's a balance. You can't be totally pulled back where you don't understand anything, because that's when you'll be fleeced by, you can have someone else run your marketing, but if you don't have a clue what you're looking at, there can be problems. So you need to learn enough to run it, to manage it, right? Go look at any large corporation anywhere in the world, any large corporation, when you have the CEOs and the managers, and there's always this feeling by the grunts. I'm going to call them the grunts. I've been a grunt for years, so hopefully you don't take offense by this, but the grunts are the employees that say, well, the manager doesn't understand everything I do. The CEO's never been down here, doesn't do that. Oh, they don't have to know how to do every single thing. They don't have to know, every line of script on a phone call, or how to put together everything on a vehicle. They don't have to work on the assembly line in order to know how to run a business. But looking at understanding the overall flow of the business, they can then put the right people in place. You guys can run your business that same way. You can learn to do every single thing. You absolutely can. And if that's the way you want to run it, that's great. I was talking with someone last night about this, and they had the greatest line. They said, I didn't sign up to build an online business so that I could have another job. I want to run something that will eventually give me some freedom. So, great. What do you need to do then to put things in place to make that happen? So, David, I've got a quote from Elon coming up, actually. So, next. Number 2, see things from a different lens. Dive into what big picture thinking is. So a good tip for big picture thinking, ask yourself, what is it I'm not asking myself? What am I not looking at? Ask yourself, what is it you're not asking yourself? If you can, sit with someone who challenges you. So this goes to what we were talking about last week. If you can find someone that's in kind of that power core, if you can take that core list of qualities and you've got someone that matches some of that, right? This would be a great place for a mentor or just someone that's maybe on your level that's willing to stretch you so you can bounce ideas back and forth, right? That exercise, clear enough? Number 3, think big by looking up. So this actually comes from Magic of Thinking Big, I believe. I want to say it's Graham, right? Is where I pulled that from. So he talks about just physically looking up. Look up in the sky, look up at the ceiling, do sometimes making a physical shift to what you're doing as you're thinking about certain ideas allows you to see it from a different perspective, even mentally. It's amazing how our brains work, but it disrupts the way that we think. It allows you to stop, change the method of your thinking, and look at things from a different perspective. Sometimes you need something to disrupt, right? Does this make sense, guys? So this is what I was talking about with the building before, the foundation. Now we look at transport to look at things from a big picture, right? Looking at a motor car, a vehicle, right? If I'm chunking down, if I'm going smaller, if I'm going super detailed, then I'm going to go wheel, rim, rubber, road, blah, blah, blah. If I'm looking bigger picture, then I'm thinking, distance, travel, vacation, on and on and on, and the similarities or the connections in that flow of thought, right? And that's also where a mentor or a coach really helps in. Okay. So next, number 4, use bullet points. Okay. And this is where I also look at, so if I'm looking at a new project, if I'm looking at a new business, if I got something coming up, I like bullet points because from there I can get more detailed. I look at highlights. This is me personally because I try and do as much big picture thinking as I can. I know I get into certain details, and from there I hand it to people that I know will get as detailed as needs to be for what needs to happen there because I'd rather think about other stuff. So I look at bullet points and then you can go down to details. You guys need to figure out how to do this. One way that I look at it, anytime I create a bullet list or I create a list of tasks or items, I go, okay, is this a $10K or a $10 task or a $10 skill? Right? Is this something I need to do or can somebody else do this? That $10K, $10, is that principle? Is that, I feel like it's pretty straightforward, but can you guys see that? Now, some of you guys may be going, well, 10K idea. Look, the more that you build and the more you see yourself doing this, the more you'll see and visualize opportunities of what your business can be. And you'll start to recognize that, yes, a lot of these decisions that you're making, guys, they're not $10 ideas or they shouldn't be $10 ideas. They just shouldn't even be $1,000 ideas. They should be bigger and bigger and bigger, right? None of you guys signed up with the partner program and paid $1,000 to make $1,000. None of you that have signed up for the accelerator are paying for that in order to just get your money back. That's not the goal. It's to get way beyond that. So every time I'm taking a step, am I making a $10 decision or am I making a $10,000 decision, right? When you're listening to these calls, when you are reading books, when you are listening to podcasts, when you are looking to trainings, eventually when the world opens back up and whether you're doing a virtual event or you go to an event in person, you're looking for those $10,000 elegant ideas. Joe Polish talks about elegant ideas, but I go for those $10,000 ideas. Every time I hear someone speak, can I pull a $10,000 idea from that? And some of those aren't $10,000 ideas. Some of them are a $50,000 or $100,000 idea, right? If I can sit down with someone that's at this level, if I'm currently here and I want my life here and I'm able to sit and listen to or talk to someone that's up here, then I'm looking for that $100,000 idea. Because if I can pull that one thing that just sticks with me, there's a handful of phrases, guys, that I use all the time, and you probably hear them and you've picked them up from time to time, but those have come from individuals that I heard. Sometimes I've tweaked them. but they have helped fuel any level of success that I've achieved over the years in different projects. They've helped get me through some of those moments of frustration. Sometimes those are what you're looking for. And those are always the big picture stuff. It's never, the moments that'll get you through when you're frustrated or upset or with whatever's going on. It's never the little tiny detail on something. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like when you're, if I'm writing things out, it's not it's this color on my funnel that created a better conversion than this one, or it's this little thing that increased my ROA from a 4.5 to a 4.67. It's not those things that get you through the day. It's the big picture stuff and having a clear vision of what that is. So next. Okay, so here's your quote from Elon. Like I said, it's important to view knowledge as a tree. Make sure you understand the fundamental principles, the trunk, the roots, the thick branches before you get into the leaves and details. So this is something like theology was always one of those things, because I mean, some of you guys know I'd been a missionary when I was in Brazil. When it comes to personal development, when it comes to your business, focus on the roots, focus on the trunk, focus on the big, thick branches, those things that will support the weight and the impending storm. Because life, we deal with storms all the time. And if sometimes people that are so focused on the leaves, right, those little things that don't make a huge difference, those are the ones where their businesses won't last, where your growth isn't going to see its way all the way through, if that's what you're focused on. But if you strengthen yourself, and this is why I hammer home self-awareness, guys. If you strengthen yourself, you'll make it through whatever storm. You'll rise up and be able to show that strength in that way, right? So, number five method to start to create big thinking options. Note down the big picture, write out your why, right? And then start talking about, write out, just do kind of a mind dump, write things out, journaling all the time, just write. This goes to Savers from Miracle Morning, right? Scribing. This is your gratitude journal. This is, writing out your more than just your daily tasks. Okay. Sometimes you just need a mind dump. Okay. Or a mind map or whatever it may be. Sometimes you do the mind map in order to be able to do the mind dump in order to do the mind map more clearly. Does everybody know what a mind dump and a mind map is when I say that? Most of you guys aren't brand new to this. Everybody know what I'm talking about there? Okay. I'm not going to spend time teaching you what a mind map is, because every one of you is going to do it differently. And me showing you mine isn't going to necessarily do a whole lot for you. But find one that works for you, right? That's the whole point. I could teach you and say, this is the best way to do it, but it's not for you. A mind map. So a mind dump is simply sitting down and I'm going to journal, or and I'm just going to write out all of my thoughts, everything. And it should be kind of this stream of consciousness that's a jumble, right? Because you're bouncing all over from one thing to another. Right?
It's like a metaphor for you to take out all the trash in your head and organize in the paper, right?
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. Here's an easy example, right? Or one that I think of. So how many of you guys have ever taken part in a network? You've been a network marketer, a multi-level marketer with anything. I have. Okay. How many of you guys have been approached by and been given the pitch by a network marketer? And you heard the pitch and you went, whoa, slow down. You're telling me too much, right? And that's kind of a verbal, I used to call it, because when I was married, we did the skinny wraps, the It Works body wraps, right? And we were double diamond and we were rock and rolling, doing all this stuff. Woohoo, great fun. But a lot of times you get someone that's brand new, that's excited about anything, and they come in and there's just this verbal vomit of ideas, is what I would call it, right? So I want you to kind of picture that. The person that just comes and starts talking, because, oh my gosh, they're so excited about this and you have to see this and this is the most amazing product ever. And you just never imagined that what this could do for you in your life. And oh my gosh, you're working from home anyway. And why don't you just take advantage of working from home and you can build your own business? And this has the greatest compensation plan that you've ever seen in my life. And it's just so, blah, 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 blah. Right? Now, most of us have that same stream of nonsense going on in our brains at every moment of the day anyway. It's just, we do. We're just not brave enough to say it. Whether you're talking about that product or anything else, we could go on and on and on about everything. So sometimes what you need to do is, whether you're writing it down. Now, I've heard of some people that will do like a voice clip and record the audio to just let themselves do that. I like writing it down because sometimes I can go back and pick up an idea or two. Sometimes it brings clarity to certain thoughts or processes or other things that are going on. Sometimes there's that little spark inside all of the mess. I like writing it down. You need to find what's right for you. But just writing out that stream of conscious to let yourself just kind of purge. Now I can create a mind map with whatever project I'm working on. I'm going to take my project. I create my big picture, my why. Why am I doing this? What's going on? And then I can start to kind of chunk down and map things out. Now, how you map it out, there's, what is it on Apple? Keynote. You've got writing out a font. Like there's all sorts of different ways you can draw circles to this and that and arrows and blah, blah, blah. And, it's kind of like this picture on this first one. Right? Like this map of, I'm going to do this and this, and it's going to go here and move around and blah, right? In a way, it's kind of a mind map, and it's not going to make sense to anybody but you. And that's okay. And it may not make any sense until it's totally done. And it may be missing some pieces. And so you'll have some of these circled and there's like a question mark, or there's this, or what am I missing? And right? Think about one of those, any movie that's got, somebody trying to solve some mystery and they walk in and their wall is just pictures of this and leading over to this place and that. And right. That's essentially what you're trying to do, guys. And sometimes that helps your brain just kind of clarify. Right. So let me kind of next step here, coming down. Where are we at? Okay. Mind mapping and journaling. Last one here, schedule in some silence, meditation, and thinking time. Okay. This is, I want you to just kind of think about when you're making decisions. If it's end of the day and you're drained, if you're pressed for time and you're just pushing yourself through and you're not really looking at the overall big picture, or you're trying to make decisions while you're multitasking, which does lower your ability, takes my ability to perform, your ability, our abilities to perform by up to 40%. It lowers your ability to perform when you multitask. Does that make sense? I might look back in there. I know there's some editing that I need to do on there, guys. So look, whenever you're making decisions, you've got to be able to look at big picture and detail. You got to be able to look at some both. Too often we're trying to make decisions during a time when there's too much noise. There's too much mess in our head. We haven't had a chance to purge that. We haven't had any silence, any quiet, any just thinking time for a while. Our brains become fatigued physically. Making a decision burns calories, right? Your willpower has been shown to lessen throughout the day based on how many decisions you're having to make. There's all sorts of different issues, guys. So you have to be willing to schedule in some quiet time and just thinking time if you're looking to modify the way that you think and add in some big picture thinking to what you've got going on. Now, I go back to a statement that I've said a couple of times. There's nothing wrong with detail-oriented thinking, but you need a balance. And if you can add more and more big picture thinking into what you do, studies show, research shows, you increase your momentum, you increase your motivation, and typically any kind of venture that has some big picture thinking behind it has a higher likelihood of success. At some point, you may scale to the point where you need an individual that's going to help on more of those detailed things, and that's great. Awesome. But until you get there, understand where you're at, where you need help. Bring in that power core, search out for that mentor coach, whatever it may be, guys. Keep building yourselves. Become more and more and more self-aware in everything that you do, so you can say, hey, this is what's going on right now, and be willing to do that. Yeah, David, sometimes you have to give yourself permission to not be perfect. Quit trying to be a perfectionist. Stop and look and say, hey, this is my next step. This is what I need. Right? All you guys are capable of that. So on that note, guys, I appreciate you being here. I hope you got a little bit out of it. I hope it gave you a couple of things to think about, to kind of extend into big picture thinking, transition from where you're currently at, whatever it may be. What I'm going to do, the email with the Circle of Influence Power Teams with both the current list from the high performance calls and then the slides from last week, that's all going out pretty much as soon as we're done. The slides from this one, if any of you guys want it, let me know. There's a couple of key points on there that some of you guys might want. Shoot me an email and let me know. And then tomorrow we're going to do some training, as well as I'll do Q&A after the regular call. And we'll probably have some like homework, a couple of videos and homework for you guys on Friday. That's probably what we're doing, since I'm going to be at Disney looking at animals. All right.
Aww.
Love you guys. Have an amazing day. We will talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Andrew. That was awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Take care, everybody.